so cold. We have an hour to get all my tomato plants separated and into their own little containers. I don't know why, but every year I'm blown away by the uncertainty of the weather, the bipolarness of our weather. We've had days already where I've been wearing shorts and a tank top and really tempted to plant out some plants into the garden. And then we've also had days like this where it's quite chilly and in the low 30s this morning. Even though it's gonna warm up, I know, it doesn't change the fact that it is just really cold outside. But it's the kind of cold that you can tell like it's gonna get warmer. I do need to go ahead and get this potting mix into the tub and mix it with some vermiculite and perlite. And then we'll be ready to move all the tomato plants. Honestly, I'm not somebody that usually buys Miracle-Gro or potting soil specifically. However, this stuff just happened to be on sale and I'm definitely about saving money. The original soil that I had in here was this Master Garden Organic Seed Starting Premium stuff. However, these bags of potting soil, the Miracle-Gro Moisture Control Potting Mix, I think that they were like $4 for 1.5 cubic feet. 1 cubic feet, this is just the one, which is pretty good. And considering how tainted soil has become since COVID and since everyone took up gardening, which is a great thing, I'm not concerned. Not concerned about it. I should have watered my soil when I should have poured half the soil in here, watered it, added vermiculite, and then added a second layer of the exact same thing. It just makes it a little easier to mix everything in without having to stick half your arm in the bucket. So the reason that potting soil exists and seed starting soil is that it's usually just more nutrient dense. It's just packed with a higher amount of like phosphate and nitrogen. Is it necessary? No, not technically. I mean, as long as you have enough nutrients in your soil, your seedlings, I mean, they're gonna suck up a lot of nutrients to get started, but you don't really need special soil for it. Now, if you had seedlings that took a while to grow, like ground cherries, for example, they take quite a bit to even germinate and break the surface, and they're just kind of slow growing there in the beginning. They might need a little extra nutrients, but then you got something like broccoli or even tomatoes, like they tend to sprout really quickly and grow very quickly, but they are not cold hardy, so that means that they will be sitting in this soil for 2 months. So at that point, then you can start to consider, well, you know, do I have soil that is going to be sufficient for what my seeds need? And if you don't, you can always get an organic liquid fertilizer like Neptune's Harvest, for example. All right, it's pretty good. When I squeeze it, it stays in a ball and it's not dripping. So that tells me the soil is ready to put into containers. Ready to do it with me? We are in trouble. Look how tall these are. Oh no. Mommy needs a better greenhouse, doesn't she? Say, Daddy, Mommy needs a bigger greenhouse.
No.
What do I need? A huge greenhouse? I'm with this guy. Look at your strawberries.
And look at mine. Look how these ones are.
Those are echinacea. Those are flowers.
Those are also mine.
Oh, but look at your little strawberries. They're so cute.
I got these ones. They're mine too.
Are you so proud?
Yeah.
I hope everyone can experience the joy of a 4-year-old seeing the seeds germinate that he planted. Oh yeah, those ones, they were just left out to survive. Do you know what those are?
No.
Those are onions back there. This is corn mosh. That's just, it needs to go outside. That stuff is not thriving in here. It's actually a cold hardy plant, but it really does. It does great over the winter, kind of like spinach. But our onions are looking good. We need to trim the top to encourage them to bulb out some more.
Whoa, I wish I could go in there, but
You wish you could be in the greenhouse with the plants?
yeah.
Yeah, it feels good, huh? Nice and warm. It literally smells like tomatoes. I mean, clearly there's tomato plants, but you know that just summer aroma of going out in the garden and pruning back your tomatoes and just smelling tomatoes. That's what it smells like. Okay, so I'm not gonna be planting all of these. I will be giving some of these away and like taking them down to my parents, for example. But I do need to separate all of them into separate pots, which at this point, they're gonna need to be big pots because tomatoes, let's see, I'll show you guys. They're clinging on to one another because tomatoes, if you can see, have a fuzzy stem. And all of those little hairs that you see, tomatoes originally are supposed to be something that grows on the ground, right? In nature, they don't just find a tree and crawl up, like they're not viney. And so the way that they do that is they crawl across the ground and their roots continue to establish on the ground as they are crawling. However, as Western gardeners, we have manipulated how the tomato works and have, more commonly turned it into a vertical growing plant, especially if they are indeterminate, because they'll continue to trellis to grow up a cattle panel or an arbor or something. That also means that these leggy tomatoes can actually be planted deeper into a bigger pot, and they're gonna appear much smaller and stronger. So I'm gonna be using this tray right here as a working tray. I'm gonna kind of dump out this pot of tomatoes and then very neatly and very carefully kind of pull apart the root systems and then put them into another pot, which is a little bigger and a little deeper, and set them into another tray so that I can bottom water them now that their roots are long enough. So you'll notice I am putting this really far down. So if you look, there's only about less than an inch of the stem from what's gonna be the top of the soil. So I'm gonna hold this kind of between my fingers, use my soil scooping cup, try to top off the rest of the pot. Tomatoes are this really just very resilient plants because they do have the ability to grow new root systems, which makes them great for any beginner gardener. And there I have it. You wouldn't believe that that thing was just 5 inches long. I am in a little bit of a hurry. I do have a meeting here in about 40 minutes on Zoom. So because of that, I'm gonna go ahead and scoop all of these up and turn on some music and get focused and in my zone and get this done and then check back in with you guys. Fast forward about an hour and a half. I got the tomatoes done. They are on 3 trays and then a few pots are off of them. I have so many tomatoes. So many tomatoes. I don't know what I'm going to do with them because we won't be planting this many tomatoes. So my friends and my family will be very happy that I started all these tomatoes. What I am going to struggle with is finding a place or a window, matter of fact, to put these in because my greenhouse just will not suffice. I don't have enough lights and enough room. But let me go ahead and show you guys what tomato plants I have in here. I've shared what varieties I was planting in several different videos between tomatoes and peppers and other plants that we have started. However, I haven't gone down into detail of which tomato plants I started and why. So first up is this pineapple tomato. I have grown these many years ago actually, but the thing with this one, which I think is so fun, they say if you smell where the bloom falls off the tomato, which is like on the bottom if it's on the plant, it actually gives like a citrusy hue, which is interesting because when I was teasing all of these apart to separate them in here, I thought that the tomato smell was different, not in a bad way, but just had more of a citrus node, you could say, to it. So I am eager to get these planted out in the garden. I do also have 2 different black crims. Now they're both black crim. One is from Botanical Interest and I think the other one was Baker Creek, which I've had for quite a few years. So I went ahead and bought some new seeds just in case the germination rate was really low, but it was not. And now I have, oh goodness, probably close to 15 different tomato or Baker Creek or black crim tomatoes. And then I have 2 different cherry tomatoes, which are both indeterminate varieties, which will climb. So I have the Sweetie Pull cherry tomatoes right there. And then my favorites are the Super Sweet 100s. The Super Sweet 100 tomatoes are hands down just the most flavorful cherry tomato I've ever had, because I feel like a lot of cherry tomatoes are too acidic. And when you bite into them, it's almost like they're like sour and you're just kind of like, you know, or they're like those little yellow, those are so nostalgic to me, the little yellow tomatoes that look like pears. Those ones to me are usually too meaty. The skin is too soft that they crack, but they also have no flavor. So if you know a variety of a small yellow cherry tomato that you actually enjoy, please let me know, because I would love to try them. And then I'm growing these for the slicer effect, right? These are, oh, that's the black grim. This one is the big beef. These tomatoes get really big. They're beautiful. They're perfect for like tomato sandwiches, for example. But also somebody like my dad, he really just wants big, traditional, hearty tomatoes. So these big beef, those will do just that. As I was talking, I realized I forgot to separate one variety, and it's my favorite variety. These are the Jersey Devil tomatoes. And if you hung around last year, if you were here for those garden tours, you know I loved those Jersey Devil tomatoes. I'm gonna put a clip in right here. Look at how long and beautiful and prolific these are. These Jersey Devil tomatoes did not crack. They didn't get blight, which isn't the tomato's fault, but they didn't have any sort of disease. Like, they were resilient and they were persistent. They really put off a ton of tomatoes and they were so good. Jersey Devils, man, they're like the gardener's secret. Like, maybe I'm putting the secret out there and people are gonna hate me for it, but like, Jersey Devil tomatoes are hands down the best tomatoes you could grow in a garden, because they're not technically aroma, but they have very little seeds. They're meaty, they're delicious, they have a great flavor. Their skin is strong and not too brittle. And they put off like 6-inch tomatoes and they're incredible. And they're indeterminate. They continue to produce literally up until a frost. And even after the frost, the tomatoes that were like on the inside of my viney mess, because it was a light frost, were actually still good. And so I picked them and, you know, I harvested all the green ones, kept them in a cardboard box, and they turned red. So I am always going to be growing Jersey Devils. So terrible name, great tomato. Well, y'all, I have got quite the mess to clean up. I also need to separate these last tomatoes, my favorites. So I'm gonna leave you guys there and get to that. Again, let me know in the comments if you know of a yellow cherry tomato that's delicious. If you're growing Jersey Devil tomatoes, let me know what you're growing and where you're growing it. And I hope to see you guys on the next video. See you guys.